Hi, everyone. My name is Willie Payne. I'm an assistant professor in SILS. I study inclusive design, creativity, and learning. Broadly, my research fits into the field of human computer interaction, or HCI, which is simply about how people use technology. Across my work, I set out to understand how we can design systems that allow people to express themselves on their own terms. So not just how can an interface be usable, but how can it be expressive and fun and reactive to an individual's abilities and skills. I've been interested in this intersection between technology and creativity for a really long time, since high school. I grew up in Colorado, and I was a pretty musical kid. I sang in youth choirs and I played a bunch of instruments. Um, but I was also a really lazy kid, and I wasn't super motivated to practice my instruments, even when my parents would nag me, especially my guitar. But at some point in high school, I got a multi effects guitar pedal as a present. And basically, this pedal let me change all of the tones of my guitar and make a bunch of different kinds of sounds. And crucially, it had a looper built into it, which basically let me record myself playing and then play on top of that. And this multi effects pedal totally changed the way that I played the instrument. And I was totally hooked all of a sudden and wanted to practice all the time. And it kind of showed me that, maybe I'm more of a composer and improviser than performer. So I, for college, went to my state school, the University of Colorado in Boulder, and double majored in music composition and computer science. And pretty early on at CU, I started to learn how to build my own custom guitar effects for my compositions. I learned a language called Max MSP. And I started to design musical systems in collaboration with other performers and engineers at the school. And I played in a bunch of these experimental music ensembles like Blork, the Boulder Laptop Orchestra, an iPod ensemble, and Solid Noise, which was a robotic musical instrument ensemble. And while all this was going on, I was TAing a humanities class and had a student in that class who was blind, who was actually born without vision. And he was taking the intro to computer science class, which actually was a very innovative course in that you wrote code to create visual art and animations, but the class was completely inaccessible to this student. And fortunately, there was kind of a really innovative professor teaching that semester who was really flexible. And I got to work with that student to change a bunch of the assignments from being visual based to audio based. So his final project was actually an audio based game. And from there, that student and I worked on an interdisciplinary project between physics, music, and computer science to try to make CU's library of physics simulations more accessible as they were being ported from Flash into JavaScript. So following my time at CU, I enrolled in a PhD program at New York University in music technology. And a huge benefit, right, of being in New York City is that you have this immediate access to really diverse communities. And I was so excited about that because I wanted to learn how to do participatory design research in which I would work on building systems in collaboration with my end users, with people who aren't necessarily design practitioners. And during my 6 years in New York, I had two partners really that I worked super closely with. The first partner is an organization called STEM from Dance, which sets out to broaden participation in computing, in particular for Black and Latina girls who are underrepresented in STEM fields. And we worked on a project together during COVID when all of a sudden, all of their after school programs and summer programs couldn't be done as usual because rehearsals had to be remote and performances had to be totally remote. And so in collaboration with STEM from Dance, I worked on a system called Dance On, which stands for Dance Object Notation, which allowed the high school girls to basically make performances just using their laptops and their webcams through a system that would draw animations on top of their body movements. So one example is a student took a Beyonce lyric about tears turning to flames, choreographed that motion of moving her arms from her eyes out wide, and then animated flames emanating from her hands during that moment. So I was working with STEM from Dance for many years. Additionally, I was working with a community music school called the SILS, which is really innovative and unique. It teaches blind and visually impaired musicians of all skill levels and ages. And the SILS addresses a lack of accessible music notation and learning materials for blind and visually impaired musicians. And with the SILS and with a group of musicians in particular, I co-designed a technology called SILS, which is a multimodal music notation tool for creating scores in both print and large print and Braille music. And I conducted a study with the school in which a group of people, most of whom who had never composed music before, used the tool to compose scores for a live performance. And I've also been working with the school on a digital music library project to track all of the basically scores that we've made over the years that are in all these different formats, so Braille formats and large print formats. But the themes across all of those projects over the years are these educational aspects, so people learning code or learning music, and these performance aspects. So you're not just learning to do something for that thing's sake, but you're working towards something, whether that be a music performance or a dance performance, and that will sort of continue across all my work going forward. Which brings me to here at SILS. I'm continuing some of these partnerships from New York, and I'm also looking to form new local partnerships. I'm currently leading an electronic music ensemble called Flork, which is made up of 5 blind and visually impaired teens who are collaboratively programming beats. For students at SILS who are interested in working or volunteering with me, I think there are a lot of different ways to engage, making tactile graphics, learning materials, web programming, for people interested in research, interviewing participants and running user studies. In terms of teaching, this semester I'm teaching a course called Usability Evaluation and Testing, which is really about how do we assess interfaces. Next semester, I'm going to be teaching a seminar in human-computer interaction and a new course called Design for Accessibility. In my last little chunk of time, I wanted to share a couple other hobbies and things that I'm doing. I'm a distance runner. You'll see me in the Carborough Run Club every week. I'm a huge coffee drinker and got really into making pour-overs during the pandemic. And I'm a big manga and graphic novel reader. So one of the things that I was stoked about when I came here was our library's huge collection of graphic novels. But thank you.